Hi everyone, welcome to week 4 of your Pharmacy Certification 1 course. This week we're going to be covering chapters 7 and 8. So now you're going to be getting into some of the math, which I know some of you find a little more challenging. So what I wanted to do this week is to provide you with a handout that kind of goes over some of the review of some of those basic math skills and the measurement systems that are out there, and then how to use them in pharmacy. So this handout is 8 pages long. There's several different example problems for each of the topics as we go through them. Some of them you might find fairly easy, some of them you might find a little more difficult, but I just kind of wanted to go through and kind of highlight some things for you. The first thing is to just go over what is a fraction and which type of fraction are each of these. So these are just a couple of different examples. 1/2, anytime the top number is smaller than the bottom number, that's just a regular fraction, a common fraction. An improper fraction is when the top number is bigger than the bottom number. When you have both a whole number and a fraction, that's considered a mixed number, and you can take that mixed number and convert it to an improper fraction by multiplying. So 3 times 2 in this case is 6, plus 1 is 7, so this would be 7/2 to convert it into an improper fraction. So then I've given you a couple to try on your own. And then it goes into some of the different operations with fractions. Now, your book's going to go through how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Keep in mind that probably the best way to deal with fractions is to not deal with fractions. So a lot of times in the pharmacy world, we're going to change them to decimals first, and then we're going to do the operations. So, if you just aren't totally comfortable with some of the basic operations with fractions, keep that in mind, that a lot of times we really aren't dealing with them. We're going to only deal with those basic fractions, a half, a quarter, those kinds of things, 3/4, some of those, big long decimals and things like that, you're not going to be dealing with that. So some of those strange, weird fractions, that's not what you're going to be working with. So as long as you can work with the basics, 1/2, 1/4, 3/4, things like that, you're good. Then the next section talks about how to reduce a fraction. Again, how to change a fraction to a percent, and then how to deal with the decimals, which, as I said, changing to a decimal is probably the best way to deal with a fraction. Make sure that you do have a 4-function calculator as you're working through these. And so just, keep in mind that having a calculator to use is definitely not a bad thing. We don't want to make errors. So I talk a little bit about, how to use a zero. It's very important to never have what we call a naked zero. And then I also talk about how to round and when to round. So there's some different problems for you to try, and then do the rounding along with them on this next page. And then I get into the different types of number systems. The Arabic number system is our number system, what we think of when we think of our counting numbers. Then Roman numerals is just what it sounds like, the numbers used by the Romans. And so I have some conversions here, the difference between Roman and Arabic. And so we kind of talk a little bit about what is, what is the representation for 2 in Roman numerals. Well, a 2 would be 2 i's, because 1 I is 1. So we talk about the different ways to mix and match and to come up with those. So this is just some examples of that. And again, some more things for you to try. And if you're not sure on these, make sure you're reaching out to me and ask. Say, you know what, I did that practice and I'm just not sure if I did that correctly, and I'm happy to help you. And then we talk about the different units of measure: metric, apothecary, household system, and then how to do the conversions. And I've given you a conversion chart so that you know what some of the common ones are that you're going to find as you're going through every week, going forward and doing some of the math. And then how to use those in ratios to actually solve problems using cross multiplication. And I've given you several different examples and how to set a real problem up and then use those examples in that problem. So again, if you go through these examples and you have problems, please make sure that you reach out and let me know. And have a great week.